According to my game time, I am apparently 147 hours into Metaphor ReFantazio. I'm sure it's because I do not want to move on from this amazing game. When you play a game and it just cares about your artistic know-how, it really does something. So I'm gonna be in a game hole after finishing this because I'm definitely near the end and I'm just dragging my feet. So here's another video for Metaphor ReFantazio. In this video, we're gonna talk about those characters. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Jahbu Ori, aka Jahbu, lifelong artist, lifelong gamer that loves to talk about the visuals in games. Before I get started, I have to give a warning. If you have not finished this game, please turn off this video and just come back and watch it later because I'm gonna go through each party member. If this game is not for you, but you just wanna hear me talk about the visuals of these characters, then by all means, stick around. First, we're gonna talk about our main protagonist, the traveling boy. Before I actually knew the main theme of the game, I thought he was kind of boring. Over the course of playing this game, I realized how much the theme of anxiety was presented. It wasn't until probably around like 50 hours or so, I finally got why our character looks the way he looks. And it is because he, in fact, in my opinion, represents anxiety. Traveling boy always has his hair in his face. A lot of people who I grew up with, especially my shy white brethren, would typically have the hair down in their face. And it's by no mistake that his hair is blue. Blue is associated, when it comes to feelings, as being sad or gloomy. There's this uncertainty that he represents. When I realized this, it changed my whole perspective of this character design. And that, I think, is good design. Design that you don't get immediately, that you have to decipher and ask yourself, why does this make sense? Travel Boy always has this sad look on his face. It kind of reminds me of my dog. My dog is massive, so he deals with anxiety on a day-to-day basis because smaller dogs constantly bark at him because they're intimidated by his size. The one thing that strikes me about my dog is, as worried as he might seem at times, he never ever reacts to these smaller dogs. I think it's because he found his confidence through that anxiety over time. And it's a similar thing that happens to Travel Boy, which I think is illustrated quite well in his design. One thing I must say about all the characters in this game, especially the party members, their attire is flawless, spot on. Here, Travel Boy has a clean aesthetic. All of his clothes is going to be tailored and fitted, and I really like how they presented the traveling boy in this game. He has grown on me so much that he's in fact one of my favorite Atlas Studio Zero protagonists. Next up, we got Strahl. Strahl, in my opinion, represents bravery. It comes through in his design. For those of you who know the story, you know he loses a lot, but he still carries on just through sheer bravery. I like the fact that, like Travel Boy, he still has his hair in his face, but he doesn't seem to be affected by anxiety the same way as Travel Boy. He actually does have to deal with anxiety in his own way. He's a little bit more extrovert than Travel Boy. Strahl is wearing orange, and orange is a very brave, bright color. A lot of times, orange is associated with bravery and strength, like the mane of a lion. So I thought it was very interesting that that's the color they chose to represent the brave Lord Strahl. I think that the gray in his hair is actually a very good choice because it's muted compared to the popping of his jacket. And I also think that is an intentional choice. None of this stuff is random. An artist sat down and thought thoroughly about these choices, and it shows in their work. And I'm pretty sure it's more than one artist. That's why I haven't named the artist. So I'll just refer to them as the team, the art team. One of the things I like about this game is, in fact, the races. And straw is the most common race, the Clamar. Clamars have horns, right? And I like the way the horns are. They're not like the tiefling horns from D&D and Baldur's Gate that are more fantastical, more bold and pronounced. Clamar typically have smaller horns. You don't really see them grow that long, and they're a cool little accent that makes it very easy to distinguish the Clamar from all the other races, and I think that's pretty neat. Next up, we have our courageous yet doubtful ally, aka assistant, Gallica. I really like Gallica, and I'm very biased because I suspect it's actually indeed the same voice actor that voices Morgana, who I really liked in Persona 5. Just because of that, I really like Galaga. I just like her personality in general, but I also admire her design. I think her design is pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of, Tinkerbell. And she's a fairy, so obviously she's going to remind you of the most famous fairy in history. Like Straw, Galaga actually represents courage as well. So like Straw, she also has the wonderful, courageous color of orange. And one thing I really like about her character design is that the blue in her eyes actually matches the blue in her attire. One of the coolest things about Galaga is actually how ornate her wings are. Even though you really don't see them through the course of the game, I noticed it while looking at her character sheet. It's this really nice design that looks like hand-painted flowers. I really like how floral her wings look, because she's a fairy from the forest. Shout out to Galaga. Next up, we have one of my faves, Hulkenberg. I wish I could pronounce her whole name, but it is insanely hard. I've tried. Trust me, I've tried. Hulkenberg is just pure strength. She is, in fact, in my opinion, the defender of the party. She starts out as a knight, the protector of the group. And like a tank grabbing attention, the designers here chose to give her a poppin' red that is literally the first thing you see in a lot of cutscenes. Her hair is so vibrant and striking compared to anything else on the battlefield that it literally just stands out like a sore thumb. I really like what they did with Hulkenberg. She is of the Resant race. These guys are more agile and physically strong than the other races. Her silhouette is impeccable in my opinion because it screams agility. It's almost like the silhouette of Stellar Blade or Bayonetta. They're a little bit more sexualized, but you get the drift. In the entire story, I think Hulkenberg has some of the most badass hearts. I mean, from the beginning of the game, they show what she can do. Any woman that can kick ass in heels is to be feared, in my opinion. And she is literally the backbone of the squad. I can't tell you how many times she had to pull aggro to grab the enemy's attention to save our dear lives. I really love Hulkenberg. Next up, we got Heismay, another one of my favorites. In my opinion, he represents the wisdom of the party. Heismay is literally the person that gives the most sound advice when the party members are talking about what to do next. Heismay is in fact a Ujif. Ujifs are one of the most discriminated races in the entire game. At first, I thought Heismay was a bit bitter. I didn't know what he was because honestly, you don't really see the Ujif before his reveal. I just assumed he was like the cranky seasoned fighter. Just because he's wise and old, that doesn't mean he's a sleeper on the battlefield. Because of his neatly designed small stature, he is very quick and very nimble. His agility shows in his design. And I loved the debut of Heismay. They showed how quickly this guy could move. I think his eyes goes really well with his boots and they pop on his white fur. He has this like really cool like Ujif tailored little triangular suit, and I feel like Heismay is the coolest looking Ujif. And I love his ears. I think his ears are pretty adorable, but yeah. Next we have our songstress, Juna, Another brilliant character design. I really like this. I didn't quite understand her race until further into the story, and I think that the team did a fantastic job of hiding that. So I'm not even gonna say what that is, but what I will say is I love Juna's design. This 70s dress I think is popping. I love the patterns from the 70s, so I like how it's represented here. Feeling the big red belt with the ornate buckle, I think that's so dope. High stockings with the red Dorothy shoes, nice touch. And of course, her most striking feature, her long flowy hair, which admittedly I thought was a bit much at first, but it really grew on me over the course of the game. That's the thing about RPGs. Even if you don't like something about a character, if you have the patience and you actually see the game through, you might change your opinion on something you didn't like. So I really like Juna. I think she's a well-designed character. Next, we have Yufa, one of my favorite characters, not necessarily because of her design, but because of her story. She is actually from the islands, like me. Admittedly, I dream of the day when I see these artists render locks. I have had locks for the majority of my life, and I love to see artists depicted in different ways in their own styles. When I realized that this game in fact has islanders, I just immediately thought like, man, it would be so cool if they had some nice flowing locks, but we didn't get that. Hopefully in the future, maybe one day in one of their future games, we'll get that. Nonetheless, I still like Yufa's design. I think she's one of the most striking characters in the game, especially when they first debut her with the mask. So there's this big metallic mask that looks so dope that she wears during a ceremony within the game. I really like the ornateness of the mask. Even though it's a 2D mask, it looks very metallic. The colors on that thing are painted so well that it almost looks three-dimensional. There are a lot of smart design choices in her design. The blonde hair does pop, I'm not gonna lie. I think it's a very good hairstyle. I think it goes really well with her bright purple eyes, all three of them. The green really pops against everything because there's nothing else on her that's green. My favorite thing about her design is in fact her cloak. I really like this cloak because it represents the Mystari eye. It's a polka dot pattern, but if you think deeper, these circles actually represents eyes. Some are open, some are closed. I really like this pattern. It also again reminds me of the 70s, and I love that that is a reoccurring design choice in their art. It's really profound. And on a side note, I really like her voice. Whoever did her voice is really nice. I typically don't like knowing voice actors because I feel like the voice actor is gonna kill my immersion when it comes to seeing her as an actual character. You know, it adds to the reality of it. Of course, it's fiction. Next, we have the last party member that you get, and my favorite party member. In this game, you got these two brothers. I'm not gonna go into too much detail, but they have one of the best moments in the entire game. Shout out to Dell. This is Basilio. So Basilio really charmed me over the course of the game. And I'm not gonna even say what happens, but let's just say he always had a good head on his shoulders. He's a parapuss. Now, to the developers, when you make a race that is representative of my favorite animal on this planet, the dog, when you take a whole race and model them after the noble dog, and then you proceed to subjugate them to so many atrocities that it makes me literally want to stop playing and go walk my actual real life dog, you have done wrong in a good way. Because the Parapuss was the first race in the game that I actually cared about. The game literally starts out with their subjugation. Some of the worst things in this game happened to the noble Parapuss. I like the fact that Basilio, in all of this craziness, is actually still a gentleman. And you know the plight that he goes through a lot. And that is reflected in his character design. This character has some of the most gorgeous brown hair of anyone in the entire game. Because of Basilio, I literally stopped and started studying the other characters here. They did such a good job selecting that chocolate brown tone that goes against this slightly lighter tone of his facial fur. Very good. I like the fact that they went with a cherry red to make his eyes pop, because that pop actually represents his courage. He also has a scar, which clearly represents what he's been through. His outfit, in my opinion, is the best outfit in the game. So much so that if I was alive in the 70s in London, I would have worn this garb. I love the patterned blazer with the deep forest green with the necktie. I think it's spot on. His pants, I think they're tailored very well to suit his length. This is done so well. It just makes me happy every single time I think about it. My favorite part of his whole outfit is not this incredible circular belt going across his waist, but actually his boots. It is so dope seeing Basilio run around, walk around in these boots that I actually didn't want to change his outfit. I actually bought the additional DLC just because I wanted to support the devs. And with that DLC, you gain the ability to change their outfits. I literally do not want to change Basilio's outfit because the other outfits don't come with those incredible boots. I can't wait to see where the rest of the story goes. As I said, I'm very deep into this game and it is still fascinating to me. I have a lot to say. So instead of having one big review, I just wanted to have segments of what I love about this game. So for those of you who already forgot who I am, my name is Jahbu Ori, aka Jahbu, lifelong artist, lifelong gamer that loves to talk about the visuals in games. If you would like to see my work, you can head over to my website, jahbu.com. I have nearly my entire collection of paintings over there. Please have a gander. If you would like to be notified when I finish new work, you can simply sign up for my newsletter on my website. I promise I won't give you any spam. Only relevant updates will be sent to your inbox. Now, if you have played Metaphor ReFantazio or any game from Studio Zero or Atlas, meaning Shin Megami Tensei game or Persona game, please let me know your favorite character designs in the comments section. Until next time, my wonderful people, one love. Peace.